Well, if you're trying to figure out where to put your money, it can feel like an alphabet soup of options: RRSP, TFSA, FHSA, RESP, even group RRSPs. Oh my gosh. But which one makes the most sense for you and when? Joining us this morning is Peter Sashecki from Everything Financial. Oh, those are all tongue twisters too. Good morning, Peter. Good to see you.
Good morning. Let's try and say them real fast, see what happens.
Right? Okay, so let's start with the first one, the one that probably a lot of people have heard of, RRSP. Tell us about that. When does it make sense to have one and put money into one, and when does it not make sense?
Makes sense to have one if you're in a tax bracket. 32 is iffy, maybe above the 38% tax bracket, because it's not, people think it's a tax refund or a tax savings. It's a tax deferral. So what you're doing, Carrie, is trying to buy an RSP when you're in a very high tax bracket, let's just say 40%, do some smart planning, cash in the RSP, or start to spend it when you're in a 20% tax bracket through some smart planning. And then there's the real savings, is the tax between buying it and the tax when you actually start to spend it.
Brilliant. Okay, there's something else that's also very popular called a TFSA. How do they differ from an RRSP?
Yeah, so a TFSA, the tax-free savings account, you're buying that with after-tax dollars. So you've already paid tax on that money. And then what it is the growth in the TFSA that is tax-free. So that's where the big difference comes in, is all that money. And if you kind of pick the right investments, or your portfolio manager does, and you make a really, really high return, that's going to be a lot of growth that's tax-free. You can spend it any way you want. And right now, your total lifetime contribution is up to $102,000. So you're getting up there with how much money plus that growth you can have in a TFSA. There's some other rules that benefit you, but that's a good place to put money that you might want to use for shorter term savings or retirement as well.
All right. Next up, an oh my goodness, an
FHSA.
I don't know how you do this all day long, but this is a good one if you're a home buyer. How do they take advantage of this?
First home, yeah. The first home savings account, you're allowed $8,000 a year. It's been around for contribution. It's been around for a couple of years now. The current total is $40,000. Let's see if maybe that changes in the upcoming budget and they increase it. There's been rumors. But the FHSA is kind of a hybrid. It gives you a tax deduction like an RSP, but the growth is tax-free like a TFSA. The beauty of this is when you pull it out for a first home deposit, you don't have to pay any of that money back. So unlike the RSP, first home buyer's contribution, where you have to pay it back over 15 years and so on, this one is just looking at $40,000 of cash plus growth that you can use for a first home buyer's deposit and never pay it back. But you get that tax break, which is really good because that's going to add to your savings for a house. So if you do the 5 years at $40,000, maybe you turn that into $60,000, $65,000 with growth, tax refunds, and that's going to help you with the first home buyer's deposit.
All right, here's another one that a lot of people with the older kids maybe that are starting their education, if you've been contributing to an RESP, tell us a little bit about that and when you should make that your priority.
Start them when your kids are born. You can do up to $2,500 a year. You can catch up 1 year at a time. The government will match, though, up to $7,200. So the government, if you put in $2,500 first year your child's born, the government gives you a 20% grant. It's called the Canadian Education Savings Grant. And that tops out at $7,200 by the time you get through the plan. The thing to remember, people, if this is all you take away today, when it's time to spend that money on your kids' post-secondary education, you can request to spend the education grant money first, then spend the interest on the money. So if your kids don't use the whole plan, the only thing that would be left is the money that you deposited that you already paid tax on. So that way, if the kids didn't go to school, you're not left with any tax implications if you spend the CESG money first and the interest second.
Okay, that's really good information.
And that can be requested.
Right, really good information. Plus, it's fun to say RESPECT.
I knew it was coming today. Your Aretha Franklin moment. You got it.
I know. It's fun to say. I think of that song every time I say RESP. Okay, Peter Sashecki with Everything Financial. Thanks for your tips this morning. Great advice.
Thanks, Carrie. Have a good day.